Welcome to the Driven Young podcast with Byron Dempsey, dedicated to educating and inspiring the younger generation around entrepreneurship and practical life skills we aren't taught in school. Created for young people who seek direction in establishing their goals and passions. This podcast provides a platform for discussing the steps taken by professionals in their field related to handling finances, making money online, starting a business, growing a network, and much more. And now your host, Byron Dempsey.
Welcome back to the Driven Young podcast. Today we are talking health and fitness, as well as helping you figure out your motivation type. Jonathan Cawte is a personal trainer who runs a company called Unbreakable. He started off his career training the Prince of Saudi Arabia and then went out on his own to help burnt-out executives regain control of their health. We get into all things health, making sure you maintain a certain standard once you leave high school and start drinking, the 4 sections of health you must focus on, and much more. He also recently launched a series of videos called The Motivation Types, where he breaks down famous athletes, celebrities, and even fictional characters around what motivates them. Everyone falls into one of these 4 motivation types, and if you can understand yours early on in life, it will dramatically help you in your career. Now, over to Jonathan. Jonathan, welcome so much to the podcast. Super excited to have you on.
Excited to be here.
Just before we get into all the fun stuff we talked about before we've gone live, tell me a little bit about you, your journey. How did you get to where you are? What did you do after high school, and what are you currently up to?
Sure. So sporty kid, so what I am now, I'm a sports scientist. I run a company called Unbreakable, which is an athletic program, which is for executives who need to take back control of their health. And I normally, I deal with people who have neglected their health for a long time, but it wasn't the career that I thought I was going to get into. Yeah. I was a good athlete at school, and after school and going to university, I thought I was going to be a physiotherapist. I wanted to be a physiotherapist, but I didn't get the marks. So I did exercise and sports science, and still had aspirations of moving after a year into physiotherapy, which every career counselor says, oh, it'll be easy, you can do it. But no one is able to do it. It's not possible. But so I finished the degree, and I still thought I wanted, or harbored ambitions to be involved in professional sport. So I went to England, I played cricket over there, and semi-professionally, it was never great. I was never going to make it, but I thought I wanted to work with professional sporting teams, and I did that at the start. I volunteered.
Professional sporting teams as a physio?
As a sports scientist. Yeah. And so I volunteered at the Waratahs, and I did a season there. And the experience there was fun, but it wasn't necessarily fulfilling. And so I ended up opening my own personal training studio in Paddington. Yeah. Had that for 6 years, and now I work in the Sydney CBD.
Awesome. So I think it's cool. So how many years did you do at uni?
3 years.
So you finished high school. Did you go straight into uni? Did you take a year off?
No, I went straight into uni. But yeah, after university, I traveled to the UK, and that's where I did my gap year. Yeah. For want of a better term. But there's a different life in London, which only exists in London, and there's benefit in being good at what you do. The UK industry is a little bit behind the Australian one, but also being in the right place at the right time. So I got an opportunity to be the personal trainer for the Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Oh, wow.
And from London, I never met him. I just got a phone call from his assistant and got told, be here. And then so they gave me some tickets, and I got a visa. And I arrived in Al Khabar, which is in Saudi, and that's where I met him for the first time. And for the next year, I traveled around the world and with him, and I was there to look after his back, which I'd built a speciality in, and I worked with post-operative back care patients in London. He was going to be my first one.
No way.
I went on an adventure with him.
So that's huge. And I imagine you would have leveraged that afterwards, as you were the personal trainer who looked after the Prince of Saudi Arabia or whatever it is.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. They're very private people. So, there's confidentiality agreements and all that. It's showing my age a little bit. I'm 37, and this was a time before social media. So, if it was now, I would tell my story. I'd share content and look, here I am in Riyadh, and this is what's going on. But this is pre-Facebook. We're operating on MySpace. So, it's a different world today. I would have been able to leverage it a little bit more, but at the same time, I had to respect
his wishes,
the royal family,
of course.
Yeah, a little bit more private.
But still, that's awesome. Didn't know that.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Was that experience valuable to you as well? Not just the experience of him, but going to London, kind of experiencing different things in different culture. Was it like? So you said it was like almost like your gap year.
Yeah, I use that term because I never had one, and I definitely like.
Do you wish you did?
No, I had a really good experience doing what I did. I didn't go out on my own. I went to London. I moved in with like two of my best friends. I went to England. The cricket club organised everything, like house, car, like.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, I was. The car wasn't great. Like the car was a bomb, but still there was things organised for me. But yeah, definitely, if you look back in who I went to primary school with and who I'm in contact with now, there's almost two groups of people. The people who went to primary school, married the girl that they known, lived around the corner, and lived a more conservative life, and went straight into marriage, family, very predictable and like traditional
the traditional structure.
Traditional is the word I was looking for. And there's people I hang out with who are all the ones who have traveled the world and were more curious and wanted to go see the world and experience different things. And what happened is that most of those people start their own business. In my experience, most of my friends have started their own business. And if you look back, they're also the people who wanted to see the world and experience new things and taste things for themselves rather than live the more traditional route of potentially pleasing their parents, getting married early, and buying the house and putting their kids through school. Yeah.
But also those type of people, because I do find the entrepreneurial people are more likely to travel the world, and it's also the reason they start a business is because they want to have financial freedom or the ability to earn money while they're traveling the world. True. Which first of all is actually a lot more difficult than it seems on social media. Were they successful with their businesses? Did it allow them to travel the world?
I've got some friends who really are able to leverage their time.
Yeah, awesome.
Definitely.
It's definitely a bit of a dream. It's probably a reason I wanted to start a business. After going to Europe, I was like, I just definitely want to travel as much as I can while I'm younger. But the problem is when you're younger is when you've got the most amount of time to travel, but the least amount of money to allow you to travel.
Yeah. There's the commonality in the people that I'm talking about. My friends who most successfully have transferred to a mobile business where they could be around the world is they're in all of their stories. There's a 5 to 10 year period where they didn't have that.
Yeah, of course. You only see the top level, the fun and everything, but you don't see them failing and working hard for the first 5 years.
Yeah, totally.
And that's a risk you take. Because when you do the traditional path, it's kind of like, you're not guaranteed to get a job, but you can get a job, which means you're going to have this much a year, which means you can put this much into savings, which means you can buy the house at a certain age, so on and so on. And as we were saying actually with Harvey, last episode, I think when you're young is the best time to take risks. If you fail, the cost of it is so much lower because you might still be at home. What happens? You got no family to look after. It's not like you got kids. If you fail, you can't feed them. You're just looking after yourself. Yeah,
it's responsibility. That's I tell this story about 3 rivers to my clients who have lost themselves and
lost themselves as in mentally.
Well, more physically. So the person that comes to see me, I talk about being in the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is 9.6 times the salinity of the ocean. It's the lowest land level on so the lowest elevation on land. And the person who's in the Dead Sea is the person who's is all on or all off. They're so consumed by work that they don't have room for anything else. But if you go way upstream, this, what starts this process is responsibility, and it starts at the age of 30. Where people enter a career where they start having more responsibility by becoming a leader, or then by a leader I mean being in a team where they maybe just a little bit higher than everyone else, or they might buy a house, or they might start a family. All that sort of stuff happens around the age of 30, or starts increasing in the age of 30. With responsibility then becomes more time pressure to then take care of themselves, have the energy to do work and devote to their health. that is the start of the process, which then if they don't take control of in 20 years time, the 50-year-old, that's the person that comes see me.
Yeah, of course.
So back to your story about like the person who is young in their 20s, yeah, that's definitely the time to take risks, because the responsibility that is in their life is definitely lower.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. So let's shift gears into kind of, there's two reasons I brought you on.
Sure.
The first one, I want to talk a bit about health, a bit about diet, fitness from a young age. As I mentioned before, I passionately believe that anyone kind of up to the age of 13, 14, if they're overweight or unhealthy, it's not their fault. It's due to the environment. It's how they were raised. It's what their parents fed them. It's what their parents, like how much they pushed them for fitness. If they went out with them, my dad would always take us out riding and we were always out playing. So me and my family have never had a problem with weight. They also fed us very clean food. And I do think it's really unfair to the child who's competing with all these people because it's not their fault. And so what are your thoughts on that? And how do you think from once you hit about 13, 14, you start to realize, oh, okay, I can decide what I eat. I can decide if I want to work out, if I want to go for a run, if I want to do a sport. How do you think we can help stay healthy in a world full of sugar and fat food? Yeah,
cool. So to back up, my whole like career is based on that there's only 4 elements of health. So work, rest management, which is really sleep at the age you're talking about. So sleep, stress management, exercise, and nutrition. So those first 3, sleep, stress, and exercise, solve the 3 most potent triggers for uncontrolled eating. So we'll talk about sugar in a sec.
Yeah.
But you're talking about something that a 13 or 14-year-old can do. Now, they're living in a world which potentially their parents don't understand about how connected they are to their friends, their electronic devices. Video games are awesome. Like the level of games and the games are all tricked up. Netflix is all tricked up to actually keep you in the platform.
And Facebook and social media. They have dedicated teams.
All of them.
To like help with the addiction. Not help with the addiction, make it worse for you.
Exactly. So the CEO of Netflix said that my biggest competitor, or his Netflix biggest competitor, is sleep. Right? that's a bit of a humble brag and good on him. But that's what someone faces. When you don't sleep, you're fatigued. When you're fatigued, you're more likely to then crave sugar. You're biologically like designed to crave sugar. So you're going to make more poor food choices for sure when you're fatigued. Then with stress, so stress at 13 is very different to stress when I deal with like my 50-year-old execs. But stress at 13 is like some sort of like emotional discomfort, and like kids are cruel.
Stress is definitely, it's like a huge part of high school, especially year 12 is rough. Year 12 it's a perfect storm of you've turned 18, now you can go out and drink. No, you can't go out and drink because you've got to be studying every night. You've got to get the right ATAR. You don't know you've got to decide what you're going to do with your life. You've got all this stuff hitting you at once, and suddenly everything up into year 12, none of it technically mattered, but everything you're doing in year 12 is going towards your overall score, and so stress is huge. True.
That's what they tell you. Like what someone who's been through it looks back at year 12. Year 12 isn't as formative as you think.
And then that was my flip side. So I wanted to say this is what I see as going through year 12, and also what I see with people. But I've also, after that in business, I've had some stressful days that have been a lot worse than that.
So with stress, so the antidote to any sort of stress is skill. So whatever like a child is facing, what they need to do is to overcome it is to find a way to relieve themselves of that stress. And look, we could do a whole podcast on this, right? But if someone is feeling like, let's replace stress with worried. Like that's probably a word that potentially
anxious,
anxiety, totally. So even like before, up the river a little bit from anxiety or anxious is worried. So what causes worry in a 13-year-old's life is like homework, like friendships at school,
social,
like trying to fit in, all that sort of stuff, right? And so if that aspect of their life, like the worry, is like in an overwhelming state, you're then again likely to find emotional comfort in food, right? So we've got fatigue and then this worry, or both lead to dietary
instability, or whatever
mistakes.
word we want to use.
Right, the last one, and this doesn't happen as much for for 13-year-olds, but definitely 50-year-olds. They're in physical pain. They've been sitting down at a desk for ages, and then they just don't move as well as they're 13. At a 13-year-old level, well, then that might be just like they're physically exhausted. Like they're just like for whatever reason. Like could be a combination of what's going on before the fatigue and the worry, or it could be just whatever they're going through. Right? So when you're exhausted, well then that also leads to dietary mistakes.
So basically you're saying if you can fix these first three things, so don't focus on fixing your diet straight away. Have a look if you're stressed, if you've, what are the other two?
So
Sleep.
the order is really important. So fatigue is the first one, right? So the whole of Australia, the whole of the world is facing a sleep crisis, right? No, like I have a wearable on my wrist which measures sleep. I get every client to me. It is the one metric that I'm really bullish on. I'm becoming the sleep guy. Yeah. Because I was just like, that's the start. I can't coach you, or I can't improve your health, or you can't change your diet if you're exhausted, if you're tired, right? So first up, get to sleep. Like I have empathy for, like, I mentor 15-year-old kids at the PCYC last year who had real troubles at school and had troubles at home. And so I had a small insight of what kids are going through at those formative years. And I don't have a solution like just get more sleep for relieving worry. But like the first step there is talking to someone. All right. So talking to someone you really trust. So if you can fix the fatigue, you can fix the worrying by talking to someone you trust. And like if you just never get to a state where you're super exhausted, then you've got the best chance possible to then eat the best food and make the best decisions about food. Like I could tell you all the nutrition facts and like all the education, the textbook about food, but who cares? Like everyone knows what they should be eating.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, like
everyone knows how to get a six-pack.
Like that's a level of dedication which not everyone's willing to actually take
if you do sit-ups and these certain exercises, you get a six-pack, but not everyone's going to do it. Same with food. We know we should be eating clean, healthy food, but we're still going to go Macca's or eat this at times. Yeah,
and you're more likely to do those things when you're tired, when you're worrying, or you're absolutely exhausted.
You can't be bothered to cook dinner or whatever it is.
Yeah, or or like at a 14-year-old level, well then if you talked about environment, and I talk about the law of food proximity, right? So if you can see it, reach it, or smell it, you got to eat
This is a huge one for me.
Yeah.
Like, because I moved out recently, there's always like biscuits at home or something.
Yeah.
I go and I just like grab one. If there's nothing there, I'd be like, oh, okay. I wouldn't like,
don't even think
I'd
about
be
it.
fine. And so it's like now, because I'm buying my own groceries, it's like, okay, if I buy 2 blocks of chocolate, I'll eat 2 blocks of chocolate this week. If I buy none, I'm not going to go to the shops and buy one. Yeah. It's like, I do that a lot with my savings and stuff. I move my savings to a different bank account I can't see or touch. So I think that's a really practical tip people can use. Yeah,
control your environment. So there's two halves of that. Like part of it's your state and what we talked about the fatigue, the worry, and the being exhausted. That's your state. And then the other part's your environment, right? And making the decisions about your food and like exactly what's around your environment when you're in your best state, when you're making best decisions for yourself, when you're energized. Because when you're tired and hungry and like emotional, like it's too late. Yeah. Like if there's a biscuit there, like you know, I coach people about weight loss. I'll eat the biscuit. Yeah. I'll eat the chocolate. Like totally. And look, and if you control your environment and look at it and you happen, like you make the decision, actually, you make the conscious decision to go eat something, well then like the other part about it is not going down with it. Like to actually go, right, I just ate that. That's cool. I like it. Like that was fine. And then just come back to making better decisions. Don't let that create a cycle. Yeah, because what happens is someone will have bad food in the morning and then they'll come to dinner and like, I've already had something today, I'll just have another one. Yeah. And on the flip side, I actually think when I start my mornings good and have good food in the morning, and I know I'm going to go gym tonight. Yep. It's like I'm not going to eat bad because it feels like it'd be a waste of the day if I'm going to go gym. If I'm going to eat clean in the morning and do all of that, if I eat a bad dinner, is that going to just ruin everything I've done today? So if you start your day off right by eating a good breakfast or whatever it is, then you're more likely to eat better food throughout the day. Yeah, no, totally. Like, but most people nail breakfast. Like, it's Wheat Bix is easy. Yeah, like eggs or whatever. Yeah, whatever works for you. Like, it's normally a very conscious decision. Like, the two danger times in a day is 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Right? That's like those like boredom sets in for some people, like in those sort of times, like they could be, unconsciously eating, like as in like they're doing something else, but they're just eating just because it's entertaining.
They got nothing else to do.
But like I get clients to do food diaries. I've looked at thousands of days of food diaries, and you see patterns, and patterns are that people start off the day better. And then if you look at period, like if they have period, like there's a lot of conjecture about how many times you should eat in a day. Right? And like, do I get a faster metabolism if I eat 4 or 5 times in a day? And like, I don't believe in that science, but what I do believe in is that if you do eat more frequently, well then you're not in that state where you're too hungry or too tired, and you got to make better food choices. You got to go to the gym because you're actually energized. Like that science is definitely clear, is that someone who's have a low blood sugar is not going to go to the gym you want to smash it.
Yeah.
Someone who's got a blood sugar that gives them energy and it's stable, hasn't gone through the yo-yos through the day, well they're a lot more likely to actually exercise and make better choices later.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something else as well. So to add to that perfect storm when you're 12, when you turn 18, I know once you hit 18, a lot of people will leave high school and they stop playing sport, they stop being active during the day, they might get a desk job, and their fitness, they'll start drinking alcohol, a lot of beer, and their fitness just kind of goes to shit.
Yep.
They'll start getting a bit of a beer gut. How can we, because it just sneaks up on people. People will be like, yeah, I finished school 3 years ago, and it's just like, I don't know where it's happened, where it's gone. Obviously, your metabolism slows down as you get older, is that right?
Like at 18, 19, no.
Yeah, but saying going from 18, or from like 14 to 18.
Yeah, you metabolism slowing down.
So it's really just environment and the change of routine.
Yeah.
So how do we prevent ourselves from getting caught in that trap of drinking alcohol and then not exercising, not doing sport?
Yeah, interesting one. So school's great in giving people routine if they like routine, but like it's the routine, like looking at my clients, no matter who they are, they when they're at their best, when like there's some sort of routine.
Yeah.
How to stop new uni students or how to get them to make better health choices. Yeah, that one's interesting because it's the first time they had freedom. And so they need to on one hand, my advice is to taste everything. Yeah. They've got to experience that. Getting someone like me who is a professional to say, don't eat this, don't eat that. Like that they may not be in the headspace to receive that message. Yeah. At the age of 18 to 20, like the cost of it, the other side, like if you do this, there's this danger. Like you're just too young. You don't get, I can say that to a 50-year-old who is really thinking about their mortality and thinking about the future.
But when you're 18,
you're bulletproof. Yeah. Like they're thinking about like, how can I get to Greece and how can I drink all day for a month? Like that's what motivates them. Like, if I'm talking about that, I've got their attention.
Yeah, of course.
So tricky one. Like,
well, I think so because I've met guys. I don't know people around this, but like they will just drink like a 6-pack at night, or they'll just drink beers at night, and it kind of feels unnecessary. Yeah, it's like sure if you I know a lot of uni students will be going out most weekends doing partying and stuff. That's fine to drink alcohol, but do you have to drink it at night? Because that is gonna, if you have that beer or constantly at night, that will start to create that infamous beer gut that many men seem to suffer from. Yeah, we nicknamed it the second year spread. Yeah, we're at uni, like, because everyone's keen, like, and to impress first year, still probably active. And you're right, like, the participation rate of sport, like. But yeah, I think do sport. Sorry, I think do sport. Like, I've seen a reason. I don't know why so many people stop doing sport as soon as they hit 18. Yeah. It's like this is a stigma that most people stop. I mean, a lot of my friends are still doing sport and stuff. Last year was the first year I didn't do soccer, but I'm going to be doing it this year. Yeah. It just feels like it's such an easy and practical way to keep up your fitness. Yeah, and fun. And fun social. Way. Yeah. Fun. There's so many benefits for it. So I think one of the forces at play there is that at 18 you're competing or playing with 18-year-olds at school, like, and then you go into sport, and sometimes there's all age, and so suddenly you're playing with 28-year-olds, and even like the social dynamic of that is like off-putting. But not let alone if you're playing a contact sport or some sort of physical sport where there's like people are significantly bigger than you. That's a little barrier. So
in that little part, maybe finding like underage, like I played university, I played rugby, and I played in the under-21s competition.
Yeah, under-21s.
Everyone stops after the under-21s because you look at the all age and go, man, those guys are huge.
Yeah.
And there's a real intimidation factor. So,
but also remembering 21 is probably when you're going to be at your peak. Or like if you're 21 and you're playing all ages and someone goes 33 or something, even if he's got more experience, you've probably got better fitness than him, or you've got the age on your side. Like being young can be an advantage in these sports.
Yeah, but what from my experience with rugby is the size difference.
Yeah, of course.
Like these people have, sometimes you get people who have played first grade and they're going backwards down the grades and they're just doing it for enjoyment rather than being competitive. But they've got on the back of it, they've got 6 years of professional sport under their belt. Like that guy's a beast. And like, so there's that part around competitive sport. But there was another question before that, right? So the point I wanted to bring up there is that alcohol's the way, if I was coaching someone in that zone, in that second year uni, if I was coaching them about alcohol, I'd try and get them to do it for fun. So to associate it with like with going out, and social, and really guard themselves from using it as a stress relief, because that's who I see. The people that you're talking about, the person in the Dead Sea, is the person who's learned that habit of like, I've had a hard day, I deserve a drink. And that's everywhere on social media. It's just casually thrown around. But if you start that young and then you continue with that.
You have one beer at night, and a year later you're having 2 beers, and by the time you're 30, you're having a 6-pack every night.
Totally. Yeah. And then like when I was training people in London, there's some serious drinkers, like, you know, bottle of wine and a 6-pack, like it's just a normal occurrence.
Yeah.
But for them, it was the way, like how that forms is that it signals to the brain, you're drinking a bottle of wine, this is your opportunity to relax. And so when they're saying I need it to unwind, they're saying the truth. Like their body is like habituated to like, okay, work's over now. Like this is because I've got alcohol, or I'm stressed, I'll use alcohol to relieve the stress. But if you, like we talked about, like responsibility starting like around 30, in the 30s, like when you extrapolate that 10, 15 years, your responsibility only increases. So therefore more stress. And like how do you relieve it? More alcohol. So exactly the pattern you were talking about, how it just
kind of compounds over time.
It just grows, like it's like it sneaks up on people. And it's because of that link of like, I deserve. And like that's just really, really slippery slope.
I think the key there is associate alcohol with fun. If you're in uni, associate alcohol with fun, which shouldn't be hard to do. But you know, go out, have and there's nothing wrong with a glass of wine every now and then on a night or something. But when it becomes a habit, as you said, because you're feeling down, to have some alcohol, it might happen once, then you're feeling down next, do it again, blah blah. By the time you're 30, you're having a 6-pack every night. But yeah, that's a great point. I think let's shift gears into what else I wanted to talk to you about, which is what do you call them? The motivators, the 4 motivators, personalities, or something.
So we just created some videos about the 4 motivation types, and
these basically, most people, everyone is one of these 4 types, and it explains what motivates you to do and why you are driven to certain things.
So I read a book by Gretchen Rubin. She is called The 4 Tendencies. Right. So that's where this research was got, and I was reading it and I was like, this is the truest thing that I've ever read. Like I was just reading and just saying, all right, that's that client, that's that client. And I can see all the examples playing out. So I could riff on this all day about these 4 things, but like the 4 motivation types that I adapted them from the book, so that if you ever read the book, it's slightly different, but the intent is exactly the same. So the first one is driven by freedom, right? And so that person, like to back up a step, it's all about how that person responds, or what the environment is that creates the best motivation.
This is how they react based on where they are, if how their boss treats them. So you, like, if you're a boss, you want to treat someone based on their motivator.
And like the common part is language, right? So certain when you match the language to the motivation type, you create action.
Mm.
Right. So the first one is someone motivated by freedom. So this person hates rules, hates being told what to do. But the person that, like, if you give them a challenge and then just step back and go, you know what? I don't think you can do it.
Yeah.
They go, well, I'm going to show you. And it sounds like too easy a trick to actually work. But like, this is it plays true in what I do.
Mm.
So people who are in the public limelight who are like that, like Michelle Bridges is the one that comes to mind. Like if you,
and she's like the woman of Biggest Loser.
Yeah. And that's what she told all the people on the TV show. It was like, come on, you can do it. This is the challenge. Like, don't be a pussy. Like, not those words, but like pretty much that was her intent. And that's what she responds to. Because like normally you use the language that you respond to. All right. So the next part, Hermione from Harry Potter. She's the perfect character that explains being driven by order. Now, this person is the opposite. They love rules. So if I'm coaching someone driven by order, I just got to tell them, this is what needs to be done.
Mm.
This is exactly what I need you to do. And then on the flip side, it's like, this is what you want. And then they just create lists and they love ticking them off.
Yeah.
And then like the very first like Harry Potter way back when, like one of the teachers is breaking the rules. Is like Harry's playing the game and then he casts a spell on Harry's stick. And so Hermione, like who loves rules, then goes, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because that's part of her rules. Like that's not fair. So she goes around and then starts and sets him on fire. So it doesn't mean they always like behave, but they're very rules orientated. They like what's just. And the third one is someone who's motivated by data. Now, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Lady Gaga, Mel Gibson, Michelle Obama, all these people are respond to data. And how that manifests themselves is that they're very, very careful in their decisions. They like knowing everything first. They want to know all the details, and then they will come up with the way forward. So that person's actually really hard to coach. Like I can't just tell them what to do.
So you got to help them create their own path, their own way.
Yeah. So I'm more the educator. They love education, but they've got to make their own decisions. So, if you like bucking the trend and maybe you've butted heads with a teacher, you might be that motivation type where like you like pulling apart things and putting them back together, like, and you like knowing the system, like you like creating efficiency. And the last one, like 50% of the population are this, like, is driven by accountability. And so anyone who really likes being coached and like who feels a little bit guilty when they do things, like they feel guilted that like I've got to serve the coach, I've got to do it for the coach. Yeah, that person's driven by accountability. And the examples I have is Tiger Woods and Andre Agassi, who are sports stars from a little while ago, whose coach was their dad. And all they wanted to do was make their dad proud, and they became world number one because of it. So, yeah, that's the like as I said, I could riff on this all day about this. But when I'm talking to someone, and then I'm trying to get them to do what I want them to do, or what they
lose
want,
weight or whatever it is,
it is. Yeah, I'm actually looking at them through those four types. I was like, are they like Michelle Bridges? Are they like Hermione? Are they like Steve Jobs? Or are they like Tiger Woods or Andre Agassi? Like, and
for anyone listening who didn't, after hearing the description of each of them, and they couldn't figure out which one they are, what would you recommend to someone so they can figure out which one they are? Because if you can understand which one you are, you can then, it can be very helpful moving forward in life. When you get a job, understand, maybe you can approach your boss and say, hey, I'm not really responding to this. I'd probably respond better if we approached it this way instead, or whatever. Yeah. And I'm making the life of your boss easier, making your life easier. It's also very impressive if you did that. But what would you recommend to figuring out which one you are? Yeah, so there's a test, and so we'll put in the show notes. There's a link to a test, and like an online test. Yeah, 13 questions, multiple choice, and it's all there for you. And there's some information about once you do the test, then you get a PDF of like what your motivation type is and what you should do about it. Yeah. So we can link that up. Awesome. It's as simple as that. Do the test. Yeah, exactly. It literally takes 2 minutes. Yeah, cool. I think that's I want to get a bit deeper into the whole motivation types. Sure. So you mentioned 50% are accountability. Yeah. So let's probably speak about that one a little bit more. So if you're accountable, you're wanting to please someone, do you find people who can't please it? So say you've got a father who's very hard to please.
Yeah.
Do you find they'll constantly be trying to get that approval? And if they can't get it, what happens? Do they look for someone else?
Is if a coach sets you a benchmark or a deadline, that personality type will then go, right, I've got to do that because I don't want to let the coach down.
So for anyone who doesn't actually have that coach, maybe they're resonating with you saying, when I haven't had someone, I didn't know what to do. If there's anyone here listening going, I don't have that person, would you recommend they try find someone?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it could come, like, friends are interesting because friends, like, are going to love you no matter what.
Yeah, so they're not going to be hard ass when you do something wrong.
Exactly.
Friends.
But, like, it can work if the two or the three of you have a little accountability group and you make each other rise up. But yeah, there needs to be punishment. One of the most creative ways to go about this was a story about two people going to the gym, and so when they went to the gym together, when they went home, each other took one of the other person's shoes. So the other person couldn't go to the gym because I had your shoe.
Right, yeah.
And so you go to the gym, you swap shoes, and then we go to the gym together. So that was their like playful way to get them to go to the gym together.
That's smart.
It's just like, so it can be fun too.
Other examples, like right now, I've set a challenge for my family for running. Whoever can beat me in a certain amount of kilometers, I'll give them a prize. Yep. I literally did that just so I had accountability. So it's tracking on the app. I think it was an example you said about a boss who was running and they gave everyone his team penalties, like time penalties, and the aim for them was to try catch the boss. Yeah.
That was a really, really cool challenge that he came up with, and it was his way of getting people to run with him. He's driven by this driver. He's a really social person, and it doesn't need to be a boss. Could be just a whole group of friends. But what you're tapping into is like making it a game as well, like
making it fun.
Yeah, making it fun, and someone who's driven by accountability will love that they're doing it with other people. Yeah. I had this little catch cry once upon a time. If I wanted to get a girl specifically to try and motivate her to do exercise, the best way to do it is get her best friend to do it too. Yeah. Right. And as it could be viewed as stereotypical or whatever, but like the social part of it, definitely is the person who has this motivation type will definitely respond the most.
And I think, like, because you said I was a freedom type.
Yep.
I think I still have a big part of this type as well. Like, I like the accountability. As obviously I set that whole thing up. Yeah. And like the hardest part for me for running my business is doing it alone. Yeah. Sort of thing. Yeah. So yeah, I think it still applies to a lot of people.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that with the freedom type, so now we're talking about the other end. So someone who doesn't like rules, who can't be told what to do, what they love the most is winning. So sometimes those two motivation types, like you said about creating a family challenge, like, yes, there's like the side to you that likes your family and wants them to be healthy too, but there could be like a little inner side.
I want to win. Yeah. Well, I do. I'm not going to lose.
There you go. All right. So yeah, sometimes it can sound like everyone has this like type, or like it applies to everyone. But what I've been able to do by applying this research over and over again, if you scratch beneath the surface, the underlying reason is actually no. Like for the freedom type is that they want to win. They want to prove everyone wrong. They want to go, hey, I'm the smartest.
Yeah. So just before we wrap up, I always ask this question. It's hard to take your time. What would your number one advice be for the younger generation, thinking kind of 13 to 22, high school, late high school to uni? What would your number one advice be? It can be anything health related, even just mindset related. Yeah.
So I'll put my personal filter through it, right? So I am the son of an Asian mother who is the daughter of a Chinese grandfather. So there is a strict environment that I grew up with. Yeah. And it was nowhere bad. Like, I love my mum and I love my family, but definitely when you have that upbringing, that success is really, really encouraged. Yeah. And success in the traditional path. Yeah.
Like doctor, lawyer sort of thing.
Yeah, or just academic success. Like, right, you got to work hard because you got to get marks, because you got to go to uni, because you got to do this, because like that's just the way. Yeah.
Because that was the way up until the past,
totally,
even
like,
20 years.
Yeah. My mum's not wrong. Like,
Yeah.
That's like she's a woman that grew up in Indonesia. Her whole family's over there. Like, I'm going to my grandma's 88th birthday in December, and I meet everyone. Like, not meet. I go visit everyone. She's the only one here, and she came out here because for education. Like, she came to university in Sydney, met my dad, and I am grateful that she did that because I am here. Like, and I have the opportunities that Australia brings and Indonesia unfortunately doesn't. But what I've now learned in business world is that you got to make mistakes.
Yeah.
So the complete opposite of what I was conditioned for success in my early life is how I create success in my running a small business. So back to your question about what's the advice is that
make mistakes.
Make mistakes.
No, good advice.
Well, it is make mistakes, but like even more so, just is to try. Is not to be fearful to have an opinion or have an idea and actually go for it. And it's the most cliche thing going around, but it's just the truth. And then the other thing that, again, I had to learn and learning in my 30s is like how much hard work actually and how many mistakes and how much trying did you do need to create something great.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I cheated there. I gave you 2. It was like to back yourself and give it a go, and then
Well, I love
work.
making mistakes. It's been crucial for kind of where I'm now. I made lots of mistakes earlier this year, which I've learned from. I mean, I think the key would be make mistakes, but learn from them. Don't just make mistakes and then ignore them. Yeah. Learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. No. And
take risks.
Yes. Yeah. Which doesn't become like, they all sound good on paper.
Yeah.
Right. But then the application of it for someone who's 22, maybe finished school, university, or maybe is entering the workforce for the first time, and it's like, make mistakes, like just take risks.
Yeah.
Right. But I think how to drum that down into some sort of practical takeaway point is that the first answer should be yes. Right. And that should be the first, like, change that in the culture. Like, change that in your psyche. It's like, yes, I want to. If that's something I want to do, well, yeah, like let's go for it. Rather than no, I shouldn't, and then try and convince yourself of yes. Start with yes, and then do your due diligence and
and whatnot,
and make sure you're making the best decision. But start with the energy of yes, and just back yourself with that.
Love it. And before we finish it all off, where can people find you?
So on all social media is Jonathan Cawte, so Jonathan, and Cawte is spelled Cawte. And the website's unbreakable.team. And if you've got a question, feel free to. You'll have your if they want to take that test. First of all, I'll have it somewhere. Yeah. And the links and stuff. But if they go to your Instagram, I'm sure they can find it. Just on the link in the bio. Yeah, exactly. There's the Linktree page, and it's the number one. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. Cheers, buddy. All right. If you are still here, thank you so much for listening to this entire episode. If you got some value out of it, it would mean the world to me if you left a review on iTunes or shared it with your friends or family. Otherwise, I'll be putting up videos of this episode on Instagram and Facebook, so check it out there at Byron Dempsey or at Driven Young Podcast, and I'll see you on the next one.